Today, we are going to talk about tackling challenging behaviors. And oh boy, there's a lot of you out there who are interested in learning how to do that. So I am super excited about the content that we have for you here today. As Nick said, my name is Rachel Hutchison. I work at NHSA as an associate of special projects. I am a course manager for the Academy. And today I am your moderator. So I'm going to make sure that we can pack everything that we have to tell you today into one short hour. So big job, but I'm up for it. So today, our webinar, Tackling Challenging Behaviors, is sponsored by the Academy at NHSA, which is NHSA's home for professional learning for everybody in Head Start. So our courses are not only in alignment with the Head Start performance standards and the Early Learning Outcomes Framework for ELOF, we also seek out the very best research-based material, which is developed by experts in their chosen fields, and not experts who have studied in books, but those who have been in the room. They know exactly what you're up against because they've been up against it too. And we brought some amazing experts to talk to you today. We want to make sure that you have the tools you need to succeed and thrive, because when you're succeeding, so are our children and families. So today, we're going to learn some really unique ways to manage challenging behaviors in the classrooms from 3 experts. Now, this is not your typical classroom management webinar. All of our speakers have very unique approaches to managing behaviors, and they're going to talk about those today and give you some practical tools that you can put to work right away in your classrooms. Each of our experts also teaches a course on the Academy, and you can dive even deeper into these techniques. We have live coaching sessions with these incredible teachers, and you'll get to meet with other Head Start staff all across the country and hear how they're putting these tools to work in their classrooms. I'm going to let my speakers introduce themselves. So just a brief overview of who you are and your area of expertise. And we're going to kind of just stick with the same order all the way through so I don't have to call on people. So Hayes, you're going to open us up, and then Nick, and then we'll move to Deb. Take it away, Hayes.
Okay, first I want to say hello, everybody, and that it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here. And you guys are my heroes. I'm a musician, composer, and a sound artist, and have been working with young people for 30 years in all different kinds of capacities. And what I'm doing with creative sound play is plugging into the one activity every child absolutely loves and adores doing, making sound, because it's fun and gives them joy. Children don't have to learn anything new, whether they're verbal, nonverbal, or special needs. That doesn't matter. All that matters is that they just be their beautiful, lovable selves. And to be good sound makers, we have to be, good active listeners. So can everybody grab their ear? Okay. And let's just take a moment and be mindful and listen to the sounds in the room where you are. When you do this with your kids, obviously you do it for much longer, but here we're just going to do it for a few seconds. Now, I like to close my eyes because I can always hear much better. Now, what a wonderful way to inspire discussion with your students as to what you've been listening to. Was the sounds, were they loud or quiet? Long or short? High or low? Were they happening inside or outside? Were there birds? Were there people talking? So just by simply actively listening, in your classrooms, your students are being mindful, developing inhibitory control and self-regulation because they're present and being in the moment. Now, for any of you who thought that sound means music, as you can see and hear, it definitely does not. Sound comes before anything we ever call music. It comes before language. So regardless of any training or music or anything that you may do, everyone here is completely capable of using sound with their students. And on that note, I'm going to pass it along to my colleague, Nick, the music man.
Thank you, Hayes. Wow, that was fun. Awesome. I am so excited and inspired to be here in this session with you, Hayes, and Deb. I, too, have been spending the last 30 years of my life doing the most fun thing imaginable, bringing interactive music and movement into preschool classrooms. I started out as a preschool teacher at my mom's family childcare in Long Beach, California, when I was 20 years old, and I was a preschool teacher there for 5 years. And I would always bring my guitar in with me and sing with the kids. And I just noticed how engaged they were and how excited they were by the music. Being involved with music was something that these preschool age children were very attracted to. And so I got really inspired by that. I started discovering wonderful other artists that had already been kind of on this path of interactive music and movement, and I got really inspired, and I started to create my own songs and activities, and started teaching those in the classroom. And then from there, I started teaching at other schools, and I became a music and movement educator. And then I created a company called the Young Music Company that I still have and run. It's my mobile preschool music program. We travel into preschool classrooms and teach music classes on a weekly basis. In fact, right now, there's a teacher teaching my songs in a classroom with children in the Los Angeles area. So I get to be able to impact the lives of children through music and movement. And then along the way, through the decades of teaching and working with teachers, I started giving workshops for teachers. And I created something called Play Motion Music, which is my interactive music and movement curriculum that I have, that I provide to teachers so they can bring the music and movement into their classrooms. And this has just been a journey for me that I have just felt so incredibly blessed to be able to get children involved with music and movement. And from the very beginning of my career, when I started out, I was always, my ambition, my dream that I thought, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, was to be able to work with Head Start. And I just love Head Start so much. It's so in alignment with my own approach and my mission and my, I just love the work that Head Start does. And I've got to be involved with Head Start in so many different wonderful ways and really develop my program in Head Start classrooms, working with Head Start agencies. And so it's something that is very near and dear to my heart. And I just have so much love and respect for Head Start educators. And so here we are. This is so much fun, and I'm just excited to share with you guys. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to Deb.
Thank you so much. This is so much fun. Both Nick and I are realizing a dream then. Let me tell you my dream. So those of you who know me as Dr. B know that I was at the Office of Head Start prior to my job here at NHSA. But before that, I was a principal and a teacher. And what I'm going to share with you today is really what emerged into my secret sauce for all management, whether it was in classrooms or with adults, just because it's based on a very basic human centered thing. But my dream when I was at OHS was figuring out how to bring quality professional development to the people who sit on the carpet with the kids. And that is who I hope I have here today, or at least the people who work with those folks, because they are absolutely the lifeblood of this work and often are just too busy to access professional development because your days are just nonstop. So I have incredible respect for the work you do. I hope you find today, I want you to put a tool belt on, and we're going to give you 3 tools, and all 3 of them can work interchangeably or independently, depending on what resonates with you. But if you keep them, close by, they'll be there for you when you need them. So have some fun today, be open to some new ideas and new thinking, and I think you're going to leave happy that you showed up.
Fantastic. Okay, so a virtual round of applause for our wonderful presenters, and let's just jump right in. So usually when we hear the term classroom management for dealing with challenging behaviors, our brains go, oh, that must mean a set of rules and some consequences. That's not the way you guys approach this. So I'd like you each to talk a little bit about what is unique about your approach to managing challenging behaviors in the classroom. Hayes, you're up.
Okay, so can you all imagine what it would be like if you looked forward to transition times because you knew they were going to be educational, fun, and easygoing? Huh? Anybody? Transition times are universally pretty much the most difficult times of the day, right? Well, that's exactly what makes creative sound play unique, because its sole mission is harnessing the joy and energy that children get from making sound, and transforms transitions into the most dependable, easy, and transition tool, sound. With creative sound play, all those daily transition times become the perfect, repetitive, built-in natural structure for you and your students to practice the same sound activity several times a day, master it, vary it, and add in some complexity, and master it again. Plus, sound transitions are flexible and can range anywhere from 5 seconds to 5 minutes. No longer are transitions wasted, precious time, but fun, short, play-based learning where your students develop their executive function, active listening skills, social emotional learning, mindfulness, independence, and raise their self-esteem, and so much more. And as your students master sound transitions, as your students master sound transitions, they'll want to naturally take agency and lead them even when you're not around, making it possible for teachers, for you all to switch from leader to facilitator and manage your classrooms more effectively. So, moving on to Nick.
Thank you, Hayes. Oh man, this is exciting. Yes, so Hayes and I both mentioned we've been doing this for 30 years. I can't believe that. It kind of blows my mind. But I have seriously been working in classrooms with preschool children and teachers for 30 years. And like, not just once in a while, like every day. So I do have a ton of experience. And I started out, I got a lot of tools as a preschool teacher. I had a wonderful mentor, my mom, Janet Young, who's a professor of child development. And that's where I learned about how I like to work with children and manage classroom behaviors. I think that's a little bit of a loaded term in a way, because my approach to managing classroom behaviors is really about redirecting energy and doing it in a positive way. So here I have my little outline. So the first thing I like to do is I choose the right material. So for me personally, I write my own music, so I make sure that it's something that's very engaging for the children. So I make sure that whatever I'm presenting is high quality and highly engaging. And then I choose, when I present the material that I'm presenting, that high quality material, I make sure that the style I'm presenting it in is going to be engaging also. And so for me, what that means is I come in with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I'm 100% engaged with what I am presenting. I'm not thinking about something else. I am right there just as excited as the children are. And that energy that I'm projecting is going to rub off onto my students, and they're going to get that infectious energy, and they're going to start to be engaged with it just the way I am. I also try to create the right environment and setting, because I want to make sure that I have a setting and environment for the activity to take place in that is as free from distractions as possible. So what that means is I don't have a lot of other things that are right there on hand that are going to be enticing or distracting to the children. I make sure, if possible, that there aren't adults having conversations in the room while I'm presenting the material, because that can be very distracting. Also, I try to avoid activities like moving furniture, wiping tables, doing dishes, things like that in the room while I'm presenting this material. And that way I'm setting myself up for success. I'm not creating an environment that's going to be extra challenging as far as keeping the children engaged. What I want to do is I want to capture their attention, get them engaged, and maintain that engagement for the entire time I'm presenting the material. When I run into issues, when there's always, and this is always happening, is there might be some kind of a challenging behavior taking place, I adjust the chemistry of the group, and I'm going to go more into that a little bit later in the webinar, how I do that, but it's something I try to do without singling out the child, being punitive, being condescending. I do it in a way that's positive, and I'll show you how I do that. And then I have a lot of steps that I do have in place for challenging classroom behavior that I'll go over later on as well. So when we get into those challenging behaviors, which I also think of as developmental opportunities. Then we have a whole set of graduated steps that I go through to work with specific children on helping them to develop and mature in a way that's going to be conducive to the whole group working together harmoniously. And over to you, Deb.
Thank you. So I think what you're going to notice, we've got these 3 really great puzzle pieces here, because Nick and Hayes are going to give you some really practical tools that you can use tomorrow, frankly, in changing the way your day runs. Trust first is more about shifting philosophy. And so it's, I'm going to give you there are some practical strategies. I'm going to give you one today in order to do that, but it comes from a place that believes, and this is psychology research based, that when people trust you, they naturally fall in to doing whatever it is you need them to do. So think about that in your own life and the people you trust. People you trust who ask you to do something, generally you do it because you trust them and you think they have your best interest in heart, and they usually do. If you can build a classroom that prioritizes trust first above all other things, you will end up with a classroom where classroom management isn't even really a thing anymore. And I don't mean to pie in the sky this, but truly with a trust-based relationship with your children, your whole perspective on all of this will shift. In fact, you'll probably stop using the phrase challenging behaviors, because it won't be something that even resonates to you as a teacher. And how exciting would that be? I use this, I've been using this for decades, learned it a very long time ago, and I used it as a classroom teacher, I used it as a school administrator, and I used it as a parent. And I think that at the very least, it has given me the opportunity to feel joy in the work I do, which is a priority for me. For you, is that you come to work feeling joy. And if your whole day is about stress around children and their behaviors, which usually align with who they are, that's no fun. And nobody really wants to be doing that every day. So that's my mantra, is bringing you joy in the work you do.
Doesn't love a mantra about joy. Okay.
Well,
so,
can I carry on now?
Hold on.
You have to wait, Hayes. Rachel is running the show today.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I love Deb.
I'm gonna have you grab your ear right now.
Okay.
Actively listen to me.
All right.
Okay, here we go. I have a question. You do get to answer it first. So now we've talked a little bit about classroom management and your unique perspectives on it. And I am sure that everybody here wants to know about what this actually looks like in the classroom. So now an example of how your approach looks from each of you. Ready?
Yeah. Okay, so first I just want to say I love what Deb was talking about in terms of trust and being able for kids to be comfortable. And what I found is that with sound, because every child loves to make sound, is that they just totally end up in the minute. I mean, when children start making sound, they're front and center, they're present. So here's an activity that you can all do with just with our names, okay? And the crazier, the better. So my name is Hayes. I might go, Hayes, or I might go, hey, hey, Hayes. And what happens is that kids absolutely love doing that. Now my name can be, some people call me Hazy, so I have 2 syllables to work with. I can go, hey, Z, hey, Z. Hey, 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 Z, Hayes, Z Hayes, Z, hey, 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 Z Hayes. Now, we all know every child's gonna love doing that, right? You all agree? So what you're doing is you're giving them license to have fun with making a deliberate and intentional type sound. So they don't have to know anything about it. All they have to do, remember I said be their lovable selves? All they have to do is just be in the moment and their lovable selves. And what happens when you have kids who have stress in their lives and they come in and they're so engaged with the stress that they can't function in the classroom, is that as soon as they start doing play-based activities, they can relax and be calm and feel safe. and feel trust. And their social emotional learning and their mindfulness all of a sudden takes over. And when you start playing with your names like that, I mean, I always put this back to how it affects the children, right? In terms of what we're trying to teach them. It affects their working memory because they're making their sounds in different ways. As you lead it, as you lead the activity, then they're like learning from you and they're seeing all the different ways that they can do it. They're listening first, so it's their inhibitory control. Then as they do it and they play with it, they're developing their cognitive flexibility because they're doing different ways. Hey, 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 going backwards. Z, he, heys. So right there, just focusing on something that's completely play-based and seemingly unimportant, they're dealing with, they're learning about inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, working memory. They're doing this in a group and having fun. So it's social emotional learning, which is helping your class come together and be a well ensemble. It's about raising one's self-esteem as they're the leader because they have a chance to stretch out and be crazy. And as a responder and as the group giving back the leader what they're doing, they're developing their self-esteem as being a good ensemble player. So sound is this incredible interconnected learning ecosystem where you can take simple little activities and be deliberate and intentional about the type of sound you want to make, and it transforms into this amazing. Oh, I went way over my minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, I'll pass it on to Nick now. So sorry.
Thank
It's
you,
fine.
Hayes.
I was like, he's preaching. I'm gonna have to stop him.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning so much myself in this webinar. This is fantastic. And Deb, I really agree that it feels really well balanced. Like we're covering a lot of different aspects. And I really love that idea about developing trust. Okay, so I have a little video I'm going to play so you guys can not get too bored watching me talk. So here's me in the classroom working with students. And while this is playing, I'm going to just talk about my approach in a little more detail and how it works in the classroom. So as I said, what's really important is presentation. So the way that I present my activities is with a lot of energy and enthusiasm and full engagement and commitment. So what I'm communicating to my students while I am presenting with my body language, with my facial expression, with my vocal inflection, is that I am super engaged and I'm excited and I am just happy to be there doing what I'm doing. And I'm really excited for us to do these activities together. So presentation is huge. I like to think of it as becoming the shiniest object in the room. So if I'm the most interesting thing that's going on in the classroom, then the children will stay engaged because there's nothing else that's more fun happening than what I'm presenting. And I think of it also as getting them on the learning express, or in my class, I call it the music express. So I get them engaged, I get them on board this train, this rhetorical train going down the track, and I keep the momentum throughout the time that I'm presenting. So I don't stop in the middle and bring everything to a screeching halt and give them a chance to get distracted. I keep that momentum as I move from activity to activity. I'm sort of finishing one thing and starting the next one, and there's a seamless flow as I'm presenting all these different activities. So it's a lot about, that's 90% of my class management is just making it really fun and engaging with, as I said before, high quality, engaging material. So stuff that's been tried and tested in the classroom and that you know for sure is really attractive and engaging for the students. So that's really important. As I said, we reduce distractions. So one of the things that's really distracting to children if you're talking, if they're talking, if you're interacting, if you're singing, whatever it is you're doing, adults in the room having a conversation is very distracting. That sound is on the same frequency range as whatever you're presenting. So that if there's a parent in the classroom talking to a teacher or two teachers talking, I mean, sometimes it gets really crazy where there's like a teacher on that side of the room, a teacher on that side of the room, and they're like yelling to each other. And while you're trying to present, and that's if it's at all possible, we want to avoid that. So those conversations can take place outside the classroom when you're doing your large group time, your small group time, whatever time that you really want to keep those students engaged with the activity. Moving furniture around, wiping down tables, doing dishes, water running from a faucet, it's just distracting. So those kinds of activities, we try to avoid that during the time that we really want to keep our students engaged. I know that's not always possible, and I'm just saying this is sort of like an ideal situation. So in the real world, of course, things have to get done, and you can't always have it just perfect, the perfect ideal situation. But I think I've talked for 3 minutes, and wow, I didn't get through all this stuff. Okay, one more really quick. Staying aware of the group, paying attention to what their mindset is. If it's the early morning, I'm presenting vigorous physical activity. If it's the afternoon, they just came in from the playground, they're all hot and sweaty, I'm doing something much more calm. So I'm paying attention to the group and adjusting on the fly as I am choosing what I'm going to present at any given time. And man, I have more stuff to talk about, but I'm going to pass it to Deb.
I'm going to mute you. Hand it to Deb.
I love it. This is the point, though. We have so much to share. There's no way we're fitting this all in an hour. So what I love about what you all are getting to hear is that Hayes is talking about sewing your day with sound transitions, and Nick is talking about making sure lessons themselves are smooth and don't have those big pauses where kids can get distracted. That's all the same philosophy. It's just keeping the show going, really. And through Trust First, what you're doing is creating an opportunity to have a quick resource at your fingertips when you need it, because we know that's going to happen. Now, what I'm going to do, I have 10 specific lessons that I teach in my course. Each one would take me a whole hour webinar minimum to teach you. So I'm going to do part of one. One of the things I teach right off the bat in terms of establishing trust is something I call ARF. ARF stands for achievement, respect, freedom, and fun. The idea is if all four of those are balanced throughout the day for children and adults, we generally feel pretty good. Everybody needs to achieve, everybody needs to be respected, and everybody needs to feel freedom to choose and have a little bit of fun. So my first question that I would ask children, this is for you today, but you can ask your kids these questions. Where do you get to make choices? I'm going to ask you this question, and I want to kind of see what you have to say. Your children are not going to relate necessarily to being able to verbalize to you where they have choices, but you know when you give them choice, they do better. So in center time, where they get to choose what activity is resonating with them at the moment, you will have fewer behavior issues. So giving them as much opportunity to be the independent selves that they are during the day is going to be a strategy you can use. Can we go to my next Menti slide? The other question you can ask is, I think I put achievement on here. I can't remember actually, what did I put? I can only do 2 of these. Yes, achievement. In what ways are you successful and how do you know it? It isn't just knowing you're successful. How do you know you are successful during your day? Think about that for a minute. Put an answer here in the Menti, and let me tell you how this resonates with children. You need to know where they feel achievement, and you need to know how they know they feel it. That's really important. If your children tell you they feel successful when they learn a new letter, and that fills them with success and they know it because you give them feedback, those are things you've got to start to kind of peel apart. And in pre-K, at a pre-K level, you want them to be able to verbalize these things. Some of your children will be able to tell you that, and some you're going to have to do some observation and figure it out. You have to be able to answer these questions for yourself before you can expect children to be able to do it. So this is about a whole psychological shift, as I said, in philosophy. Am I over my time? Rachel, I see you looking at the clock. But this is one piece of one lesson that we teach in Trust First. And it's at the center, and it's the part where you kind of, it's your springboard to be able to do all of the other things that we teach.
I wish you all had been in the planning session where I tried to rein these 3 in. It was just impossible. So moving into our next question, I'm just going to say you all did this to yourselves. We're way off the pace. So condense it if you can. you know, there are people here who are going, okay, that's great, but that would never work in my classroom. What do you say to that?
I say that my biggest challenge has always been with teachers, not students. And as soon as students have a chance to make a deliberate and intentional sound, they love it and they do it. Teachers think that sound is about music because of the sound of music. You go hear some people playing music and they say, wow, it sounded great. Sound has absolutely nothing to do with music. It comes before music, and you don't have to have any kind of training or anything. Sound is as simple as a dog barking, is as simple as going zap, 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 bleep, blap, and here's a story from Eunice, who took my class a few months ago, a teacher trainer. So she comes in, and I had everybody, I was doing a call and response. So everybody follow me. Zip.
Zip.
Bleep, blap.
Bleep,
Beep,
blap.
blap.
So Eunice comes in and says, I ask her how it's going, and she goes, it's really great. The kids are making all these sounds, but my kids have language delays. And prior to this, they were all striking out and hitting and grabbing when they wanted to try to get some attention or be able to have their needs met. Now they're making fun sounds. And the teachers who are doing this with their kids, and Eunice, and is giving license to the children who have sometimes have difficulty thinking about what words mean and how they compute them, and then have language delays. So they're already like, but now they have a tool. They can make sound, they can make fun sound, and they're no longer being aggressive with their behavior. They're just using they're just vocalizing to communicate. So it's something that we forget about. And everybody here, I love you, you're my heroes, I'm telling you, and I love Head Start. You are you all can completely use sound with your students. Another way is a wonderful way to use sound is when you have a kid who's really loud and they're really blah, blah, blah. You can say, wow, I bet that's a nice sound. I bet you can't make that quieter. And if you challenge them, they'll go, oh, yes, I can. Blah, blah, blah. And you say, make it medium, blah, blah, blah. Make it really loud, blah, blah, blah. Make it soft, blah, blah, blah. And what you're doing right there is that you're developing their technique, their ability to level out the sound, to work it in different ways and listen to the sound in different ways so that they become more mindful of their surroundings. And I've had teachers tell me that the 3-year-olds come in and say, it's too loud in here. Can we quiet down? Because they're aware of volume. They're aware of how they make it. And they have choices like Deb's talking. It's so beautiful. So I think I'm how's that? Is that
Aware of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll pass it on to Nick.
Thank you, Hayes. Okay, this is great. Now, as a former preschool teacher myself, I know I've been in a situation where an administrator said, I've got this big thing I want you to do, and it's going to work great in the classroom. And I'm like, yeah, right. I live in the classroom, and I know this isn't going to work. So I think what I want to say is, these tools aren't going to instantly, if you have a really challenging group, these tools are not necessarily going to instantly solve every issue and make your classroom just work exactly the way you want it to be. But I think the trap we fall into sometimes is when we have a really challenging students is we get into micromanaging and we get into having a stern affect and being condescending, overly critical. And what this results in is a negative environment, a negative whole vibration in the classroom. And we really don't want that, not for our own mental well-being or for those of our students. So, what happens when we are implementing these tools and giving choices, I love what Deb said about choices, because that's so important. Giving choices about, especially with challenging behaviors, giving a pep talk, setting the children up for their expectations of what's going to be happening in the classroom at any given time is so important. And by implementing these tools consistently, we're going to cause a positive change over time. So it's not an instant panacea that's just going to solve everything, but it's something that you see the dividends results over time. And all your students aren't going to start behaving perfectly right away. But what you are going to see is they're going to be developing their impulse control and their social and emotional development and their communication skills. And they're going to be gaining all these really vital, important developmental benefits that are going to pay dividends, not just that year, but in the years to come in their lives. That's so vital for their, and I think that's the main thing that we can do for our students, is to help them to have good communication skills, good social and emotional development. So that is the exciting part about this, is we really get, this is like a laboratory and an environment where we get to help these children to learn this and develop in these positive ways. Over to you, Deb.
Thank you. I think that for Trust First, the biggest differentiator, as I said in the beginning, and this is what gets to the point of this won't work for my kids. The implication behind saying something isn't going to work when it comes to classroom management or challenging behaviors is that what you're looking for is something you can use to get kids to do what you want them to do. This isn't about like manipulating children at all. So it is going to work, because it's not going to have, it's going to have far less to do with, can I manipulate the kids, than it is to how you change your approach, your thinking, and your belief system about children and what should be happening in a classroom. And when you put a new framework on that, all of a sudden, the things that used to be problems are opportunities. We were just talking in the chat about mistakes, and somebody had put that they have a shift mistakes to an opportunity. I think Nick, you even implied that earlier. That isn't about getting kids to stop making mistakes. That's just about celebrating them. And now all of a sudden, mistakes aren't a bad thing, and we don't get as worked up about it. And guess what happens when we don't get as worked up about it? The kids don't get as worked up, and now that mistake can be solved and you move along. It's a shift in your own thinking about what it means to be a teacher, and really a human being who interacts with other human beings. So when we go into Trust First, we learn, and Trust First as a course that I took many years ago, decades ago, is much longer than the course that I've developed. I worked with the developer and we came up with something that would be more digestible for teachers. I didn't want to overwhelm. It is the 10 key skills, though. By embracing them and practicing them, you will just become a different teacher. That's just what happens. And when you become that different person, your children become different people. So it isn't about tricking them or manipulating them. So whether it works or not, it's a done deal. It's up to you.
So that's a great segue into, I want to just real quickly, so that we can leave a few minutes for questions, give you each a chance to talk about your academy courses, because clearly you each have so much more to talk about than we have time for right here, right now. So if you can just give everyone like the quick cliff notes of what do they learn in your course in the academy?
Okay. I do a very thorough understanding of the basic elements of sound, several tried and true sound activities, many examples of how to add complexity to them. It's also been very important to me to lay it back so that everybody knows what they're doing with this material. So in terms of executive function skills, understanding how it affects children when they're hearing, their cognitive flexibility, their mindfulness, and social emotional learning. As well, like Deb was saying, there's no, as long as you're intentional about the type of sound you're trying to make, there's no wrong sound. And there's no there's no mistakes. It's making sound and everybody has their own style of making sound, which is really beautiful. Like when you get up to conduct, I'm like someone who flails. I had a student who had their hand just like this. I mean, but they were very, very concentrated and focused, and everybody was making sound and giving it back to them. But beautiful. It's very important. This is very important that every child get a chance to lead the activities, so that you make sure that every child gets a chance to lead, because I've had so many teachers tell me that their children were very shy and they didn't even know their children could do this. And as soon as they start leading the activities, all of a sudden they start their personality starts to blossom. So very important. And there's so much more. And just if you take the course, we'll have a ball. How's that?
That
Okay.
is 100% true. That course is super fun. Okay, Nick.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I want to take that course. So
Yeah, you
mine's
do.
interactive music and movement. And there's 4 modules in the course. The first one is about imaginative and directed movement songs. The second one is about instrument time, rhythm sounds, where we play shakers, drums, scrapers, we read and play music notes. Then we have musical storytelling, and then we have class management. I have a whole module at the end of mine that's just about tools and techniques for class management for a really active and vigorous interactive music and movement activity time in your classroom. And what the focus of my course is to help you to be able to lead music groups in the classroom, to be able to choose the material that you want to present. And I go into very minute detail about what the criteria is of the material, how to present it. And I also, what's great is I had such a great time creating this course. I put in a whole bunch of interactive music that you get to do with your students. So there's videos, there's quiz questions, there's homework, and then we have live coaching sessions where I get to talk with you, the teachers who are taking the course. As we move through the course, we get to share about what it is that, as you're doing the homework, which is presenting the music to your students, you get to share about whatever challenges may have come up, what successes you had, and we get to share that with the group. And it is so fantastic. I am just super excited for hopefully to see some of you guys in my course. Over to you, Deb.
So in Trust First, as I said, there are 10 distinctive skills that I'm going to teach. Each one is taught. You go back, you practice it, you come back, we talk about it. That's pretty much the rhythm of the course. And it's taught in a cohort style so that we can debrief together. And you can come back and share if you had an experience that was difficult to manage. We can talk through that. But most of the time what happens is folks come back and they can't believe how just a change in one word, for example, in the way that you address children, all of a sudden it's amazing the response you get from them. So it's 10 very distinctive skills. As I said, too much for even an hour. But what we wanted to do today is to give you a taste. So if this is resonating with you, Rachel, can I do the big reveal? Yeah. So if you don't know, I'm not just a teacher here at NHSA, but I actually help to run the academy with wonderful Rachel and some other beautiful people. And we built these courses specifically with teachers and instructional assistants and ed managers in mind. I feel like they need more support. And that's why I said this is like a dream come true for me. What we did with these 3 courses is we put them together. And after you take all 3, you can earn a classroom management credential from NHSA, which will give you really solid, in-depth skills to improve your own experience in the classroom, which will of course help your children. So you can get more information, I think is in the chat on that. And if you have other questions, you can reach out to the Academy. Rachel and I will talk to you personally if there's something you want. If you're from a program with a lot of teachers and you want to put your own cohort together, we can work something like that out. The Academy is really flexible. We are here to serve Head Start and early Head Start programs. That's what we live for. So whatever we can do to make it more accessible for you, we will do. And I'm going to pass it back to Rachel because I think she had Q&A, maybe.
Yes. And we actually somehow miraculously got back on track. So well done, all of you.
We're gifted. I told you that.
They're very good teachers. And clearly we all of us here love to teach. That's really what this comes down to. We want to share what we have to make your experience in the classroom better all across the country. So if you have other thoughts, ideas, things that you need, bring them to the Academy because that is what we do. All right. Now, Courtney, I believe, has our slew of questions.
Yes, this first question is for Nick. Nick, what features should I look for when choosing a curriculum?
Music and movement. I guess I'm going to assume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, our
Okay.
music and movement curriculum.
Well, I really go into this in my course. I think first of all, it has to be interactive. So we never want to have some situation where the children are just passively receiving. We want them to be involved, whether they're call and response, clapping hands, moving their bodies, crawling like a spider, hopping like a frog, riding on a train, hopping on one foot, all those things. There has to be the interactive element is primary. And then there's a lot of details about how we choose the music for our music groups. For instance, one of the things I talk about in the academy is some music for children is just like they'll be like, okay, shake your hands, now hop, now jump. And what we want to make sure is that when there's an activity presented, that there's space in the song for that activity to be enjoyed and partaken in by the children before it moves on to the next one. So that's just an example of, I go into much more detail in my course about how to choose the music for your classroom. Good question.
Great, thank you, Nick. Our next question is for Hayes, and this is a multi-part question. So Hayes, when you talked about moving your arms, I'm interested if you coordinate as the children to synchronize their sounds with movement. And do you model that?
Yes. Okay. In the coaching sessions, it's great because I do all that with the teacher trainers. So yes, I do model the volume. For example, you can do volume either in 3 like this, going up, very like quiet, medium, loud, or you could go gradual. And I do that with kids, and I have them make it so they go ooh, or ooh, ooh, ooh. So that was that the question? I think. Did that answer it?
Do you ask them to synchronize their movements, do them all together?
I usually one person leads. I guess that would be something that is up for grabs for teachers. I mean, the whole point is for teachers to find their way into this material and make it their own. Okay, I would love to see what you guys come up with. I do something with counting, clapping, and stomping where it is kind of synchronized, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we're going to clap on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we want to add a little complexity. So maybe we'll stomp our left foot on 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Maybe add a hoot on 4. 1, 2, 3, hoot. 1, 2, 3, hoot, and so forth, but not that quickly. You would do each one very slowly until everybody got it, and then we would move along to the next one. And that's what makes these transitions. So you don't have to be, you don't have to be freaked out about transitions, that you have to have all of these different transitions. All you have to have is the information as to how you make a transition simply a little bit more complicated, change it up, add something to it, and then all of a sudden it changes the whole thing.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Hayes.
making sure everybody's coming along is definitely important. What else got for us, Courtney?
All right, next question is for Dr. B. How can Trust First be applied to early Head Start classrooms?
So generally speaking, as long as you're teaching children who have some level of independence, this would be relevant to the children. So that'll depend on how early the early Head Start is. However, a Trust First philosophy in general for folks who work in education is a very, very healthy way to build a staff. In my programs that I led as an administrator, all of my teachers were exposed to this way of thinking, because what it does is it doesn't, as I said earlier, this isn't just about going into a classroom and like putting something on the wall. This is about how you see things and how you treat people and the language you use, and all of that becomes relevant in the classroom and beyond, and when you deal with parents. So all of this is about building a trust relationship throughout your day. So as a leader in an early Head Start program, bringing teachers into this space can be a really good way to build a healthy culture among the staff. But in terms of affecting children, infants are not yet really making their own decisions. They're being pretty reactionary. So I think it's once you know you've got kiddos who are making decisions independently, which can happen in early Head Start, but it's going to be in those older classrooms.
All right, Deb, keep going because there are a lot of questions about trust first. Can you please tell our audience about the 10 key skills that you were referring to when you were explaining?
I will tell you what they are. What'll happen is, though, you won't understand it in this short time frame. But let me tell you, we have a thing called pit stop. We teach the pit stop, which is an opportunity for everyone to pause, inhale, and think. Then we talk about going to solution and not living in the problem. We talk about loving mistakes and embracing mistakes because that's your opportunity to teach. And I will tell you, when you can teach children to learn this way, to think this way, all of a sudden the things that happen in classrooms that are disruptive become opportunities, and they will talk this way to each other. We teach ARF. That's a really big piece. That was part of what I introduced you to earlier. We teach respect and how to show respect, and that's very specific about body, facial expressions, tone of voice, and things like that. And that's taught to children very deliberately. We use the word respect a lot, but we often don't tell children what that means. We'll tell them what it doesn't mean, but we're not really good at telling them what it means. We teach questions, being a questioner, not a declarative sentence maker as a teacher. So you want to be asking as many questions as you can. That keeps children engaged. It's a lot of, probably relates to a lot of what Nick and Hayes have been talking about. We talk about giving children permission. This is one of my favorite lessons because it's a simple way to word things so it makes more sense to them. It feels less coercive. There's a great strategy called Good Thinker that is for group instruction, where you get everyone involved and everyone gets to be successful. It is magic in the classroom. We talk about how children can state their needs, which help you get to their solutions better. And then the last one, which is one of the hardest ones to teach in the US, is we get rid of consequences. We get rid of rewards. Oh no, we no longer do reward and punishment approach. This is the hardest one to teach because most of the way we live and most teachers learn that if you can reward good behavior, you encourage good behavior. You do, but only for the kids who are already going to behave, not for the ones who struggle. The ones who struggle will stop caring about the reward, and then you're back to square one, and then you don't have anything. So that is the hardest lesson. It's the last one, but yes, it is temporary, Malia. That's exactly right. And fear-based, so which is punishment, doesn't hurt the children who are hurting the most. And we teach all of them. So using any kind of punishment-based system. Now I'm going to say that and you're going to think we never would do that. But it's my belief that when you use rewards, you're actually using punishment, because the kiddos who don't get the reward get punished. You don't mean it that way, but that is the way it's perceived. So I teach you a completely different way to approach children without consequences and rewards. And it'll, maybe put you off a little bit. Lots of people tell me they can't believe that there are natural consequences in life and kids need to feel consequences. I believe there are better ways to get them to do what they need to do because it's the right thing to do. Most people want to do that, and you can teach them to think that way. Mm-hmm. How's that for like 10 lessons in 10 seconds or whatever? I don't know. I can't do this in 10 minutes.
We're impressed. We're all impressed. Courtney, I think we have time for one more, maybe two, depending.
Okay, depending on if we can go quick. This next one for you, Nick, is when there is challenging behaviors from a certain student or students, how can teachers adjust the chemistry of the group?
All right, good question. Okay, so yes, this is one of my favorite things. So what I do, and just speaking about it in the context of music and movement, so I've got a song going on, the children are moving and dancing. I've got 2 or more children who are in the group, and we're sort of like in a big circle, and they're the friends that like to wrestle on the playground, and they're just starting to get into a little elbowing, and it's starting to get a little rough, and it's just beyond where it's starting to get unsafe or highly disruptive. The way I adjust, one of the simple ways to do it is I say, Johnny, I've got a special spot for you right over here. And I just, without being punitive, without stopping the activity, I just quickly and easily have this child one of the children move to a new place in the group. And I'm not punitive. I'm not embarrassing them or calling them out. I'm not stopping the activity because once I stop everything and have to like start correcting and micromanaging all the behaviors, I've lost my momentum and they start to get off the music express, and then I'm losing the engagement of the whole group. So by doing it kind of unobtrusively without blaming or shaming, I just do it quickly, and it's almost like a fun, cool thing. Oh, I've got a special spot over here by Mr. Nick or over here by my friend. Then all of a sudden I've adjusted the chemistry of the group, and everything suddenly is just working more smoothly and working better. So thanks for that great question.
One more, Courtney. Let's go for it.
All right, Hayes, close us out. What are some examples of sound transitions?
Oh boy. Well, you know, there's the one all the ones I've showed you. There's here's a transition that works great for kids walking down a hall. Okay. They become a train and they make the sound of a train. Chug it, 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 chug it. Now, you do that the first time. The second time you go, chug it, chug it, chug it, chug it, woo, woo, chug it, chug it, chug it, chug it, woo, woo. And that will last for 5 minutes. You could do that for the whole week. And then you can keep adding on different things. So you go chug it, woo, woo, wee, wee, chug it. And so you've taken this, I call these like sound sculptures. Because what you're doing is you're taking the idea, it's a narrative idea, it's a choo-choo train, and it's and this one actually works really well for those long transitions. And they're walking down, and you can add elements, and then you can change it up by changing the order of the elements.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You know that's my favorite, Hayes.
Yeah, I know it is, Rachel. That is, I have to tell you all, I stole that from Rachel. Rachel gave me that idea. She was listening to some of the stuff that we were doing, and she goes, "Oh, she did it with some kids," and she told me about what she did. See, this is where I'm saying,
and guess what, Hayes? Rachel stole that one from me. So.
Oh, good.
Not even true. All right, I'm going to wrap us up here, guys. Our experts are going to be in touch to answer any questions we didn't get to. If you're interested in any of these Academy courses or all of them, just follow the links in the chat or go to our Academy webpage. Trust First is launching in November, but you can pre-register now and get a seat. Both music and movement and effective transitions are now open. And once you've taken all three, you get that classroom management credential. You will be so valuable to your program. I'm so excited for you guys to take all these courses. If you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us. We are here for you. You are our heroes. Thank you for joining us today. And if you have requests for future webinars, use that Q&A form. Let us know. We would love to know how we can help you succeed and thrive. It is an honor to support you and the outstanding work you do every single day. Deb, final word?
Head Start is the access to the American dream. Go make dreams happen.
We played with music, we had some fun. We got to sing and dance all around. Thank you, friends, we are your biggest fans. Pinky Jackalope and Nick the Music Man. La 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 la. And Hayes and Deb. Playing with music is our favorite thing to do. It's so much fun when we share it all with you. All of our friends across the land. It's Pinky Jackalope and Nick the Music Man and Hayes and Deb. Woohoo!